or they benefit from it from revenue generation, or they benefit financially from really, having that type of environment that can empower them, right, to actually do something better. I mean, from much safer, a little bit more basically economically justifiable. So how would you bring this thing, right? Because I think that the part of it is like then what AI has always been right now, at least from the majority of end users now, they think about still in the ChatGPT way, right? You type basically essentially it's not replacement. I'm going to use the word, let's say a complementary basically to what you typically do in a Google search. So how would you bring this contextual thing because it's a complex, I mean, I'm not going to say it's more complex of a concept, right? That you bring to them is that this is what AI is. For them, basically, it's just like, I just want to be safer, right?
And that's it. I mean, and I think you just touched on it. Keith just touched on it. I am not let's call it, I feel like I'm technical to a point, but I'm not an overly technical business and sales leader, right? And sometimes in this industry that can be overwhelming because you try to learn so much every day about the technology because you feel like you have to, and if you don't, you're not going to be able to keep up. But I actually believe that plays in my advantage more so than my disadvantage, because when it comes down to it, I'm confident that we have the technology that's going to enable this. But my focus is not about the technology. My focus is everything that Keith talked about on the side of the customer. And when I put myself in the shoes of anybody from an IT perspective that's also trying to figure out how to utilize everything we're talking about to build their business, it's incredibly intimidating. I believe it's incredibly intimidating, and you do have to dumb that down. You have to work with partners and companies that have seen these type of use cases before, that are very specific on what they're going to deliver to you. This is how it's going to benefit your business. Once you talk about how it's going to, you mentioned, make money or save money, everything else goes from there. And I think what's also important to call out here is you've got to work with companies that are really good at partnering. Really, because more times than not, one company is not going to deliver everything on your behalf. But what you don't want to be as a business leader or an IT leader is have to worry about that. You want to work with somebody from a partnership perspective that's going to bring the entire solution to the table and make sure that it just works and delivers what it needs to. And so, you mentioned it, Keith, a little bit with our ecosystem of partners. Partners will continue to be incredibly important to everything that we do. And we've got to make sure that we continue to be easy to partner with, so it's completely seamless to the end user. And I think that's what's really important. And that's how you sort of simplify all this, because when it really comes down to it, how are you improving their business? I do also think that it's important that you understand their business, right? And you mentioned a couple of key industries. We play in the area of smart retail. We talk a little bit about what we're doing with traffic. You mentioned a few use cases, there, Keith, when you were talking. All types of different security use cases. You've got to have a team that understands this, because they can make that become really practical for your client to understand as well. So that's how I'll approach it as I get into the business. Keep it about the outcome for the client, and make sure that it's clearly articulated on what their business is going to achieve, really outside of the tech. The tech will enable it, but really focus on the outcome.